Hello and welcome to Flashback, a UCP production. Now, if you're a UCP listener, you've probably heard this format before, but if you haven't and you're new to the show, this is our new show, which is Flashback, which we go back to a random month of a random year in gaming history. And as the tagline says, the games you loved, the stories you forgot. And it's me, RGT, and I am joined by the UCP legend, founder, CEO himself. It is George. How you doing, George?
Stingray. Yeah, me. Well, sounds quite highfalutin there, but multi-channel show, multi-channel production now, which
Mm.
is great. So, and very excited to dig into this first episode of Flashback. First proper episode, as you said at the top of the show. We've had a pilot, which snuck out in the main show and also formed our Trojan horse-like attempt to infiltrate all the main providers, which I think is ongoing. If you're hearing this, I think RGT would say it worked, right?
Definitely.
Hmm. Very good.
Mm.
I'm I'm oiled up and ready to hit the 2009 like gym.
Mm.
I just decided before we went on air to show RGT a picture of me in 2009 just so he could visualize the man he's dealing with. How does that feel, time travel wise, to look
Absolutely
upon me?
incredible. Absolutely incredible. Yeah. I want that picture sent to me. So every time I do a flashback episode, I just want youthful George.
Well, we'll try and find a picture of me from each time.
Mm.
If the people clamour for it enough, and obviously there's within the Unofficial Controller Podcast Discord, there is a flashback subsection where you can all go and we want episode ideas. If you know of a month or date in gaming, we want you there giving us the suggestions. And if there's enough clamour for it, I will probably enforce RGT or any host of flashback as we move forward. We'll have to post a picture of themselves in that moment.
Wow. There'll be just some disturbing pictures, I can assure you.
It's a little bit of extra fan insight, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, go for it, RGT. Let's go.
Well, like I say, if you're not listened to Unofficial Controller podcast before, basically it's going to be similar to how our show used to run on there. So we will be, like I say, this time we're discussing episode one, which is March 2009. We'll be looking at what games we would have been playing or games we would have liked to have played in that era. We'll also be going through free news articles from the era, looking back and discussing them in a a modern vision, and see if everything panned out as they said in these articles. And we'll be finishing up with what we'll be hoping to play with a bit of Stingray's boot as well. So
Hmm.
yeah, it's a UCP show with a retro take. And yeah, we're hoping you'll all join us on this journey. This will be a weekly show. And yeah, join our Discord, jump in the flashback section. If there's any years or months or particular things you either would like us to do a show about, or you think things we've missed, then jump on the Unofficial Controller Podcast Discord and join the family.
You've lit the fuse in my brain for a name for the PC and indie show that we may or may not be doing. And
Hmm.
I do believe it's called UCP presents UPC. No, UCP presents UPC.
Wow, that's going to get a mouthful.
Get working on it. Not with your mouth.
Mm. Right,
As,
well,
as you were.
yeah, that's that's left me on a cliff edge. Right, and we'll go on to what we could have been playing. Well, we look back over these. There was plenty of games. We've sort of gone from a couple of months back, so games you probably would have had round about this March era. I won't read them all out. There's quite a few there, but we can pick a few out that would interest us. Like, for instance, Saints Row 2 was coming out for Windows at the time. I mean, there was always a big push for puzzle games and quiz games. There's like Deal or No Deal. Mirror's Edge, another one released for Windows at the
You
time.
don't realise how big Deal or No Deal was in 2009.
It was,
It was
yeah,
a juggernaut, dude.
yeah.
And that coming out on the Wii just kind of gives a nod to the fact that it's the mainstream machine. What
Yeah, and also, if at the time, that was probably a good game to have on the Wii because families bought Wii's, and your parents had it just to have a bit of bowling. But if they could play their favourite game with their favourite bearded host on there, then they're miles away, aren't they? That's right up their street.
if I was a
Um,
blue tit, I would live in his hair.
You probably could, and raise a substantial family in it as well.
For the worldwide listener, because obviously we're listened to worldwide. We're referring to the gentleman, the British presenter called Noel Edmonds,
Mm.
swerving things back onto gaming and something that's got worldwide recognition. RGT Halo.
Hmm.
Interesting timing here. Halo Wars came out for the 360, not a mainline Halo title by any stretch, but Halo Wars is a game I want to take a moment to talk about. But then followed February 27th for Killzone 2. So,
Mm.
wow. You want to see the
Yeah.
console wars unfold in front of your eyes. It would be interesting to see the sales metrics between those two. Now, Halo Wars, that's a game I poured a lot of time into, RGT. I love that. It's
Mm.
obviously a real-time strategy game using the Halo assets.
Mm.
At times, it really felt like you were literally in that universe. Everything was so well branded. The way the missions unfolded, everything. I absolutely love that game. It's been a wee while since I played it. I know it got rejigged recently, so I'd be interested. It's one I
So
always
it's
meant to
outside
go back to.
RTS, is it? Or
Yeah, it's great.
oh, yeah, I've
Like
never played it. Never played it.
it's 3D, but it's presented in like what you or I would remember as almost like an isometric viewpoint.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, top down, move your sort of troops around, pelicans come in, all that sort of stuff. It's
Yeah,
great.
I've never personally really got into RTS games. They're never really something I played back in the day, and would never really sort of tickled my fancy now. But
Didn't you bust through all the Halos recently?
I'm on number four. I'm on. So
Now would be a great time to dig out Halo Wars and have a go on it. So
um,
if you haven't got that in that rather, you have got that in that
yeah,
rather embarrassing stroke burgeoning collection. That'll do you some good. The other game,
stroke embarrassing.
it is what it is.
Yeah,
Um,
I'll own up to that. Yeah.
hey, I don't live amongst mine, but my depth of depravity is equally as deep. Killzone 2, nice to see coming out.
Mm,
Obviously, a little bit controversial at times, Killzone 2, but certainly what we got in the end, actually impressive graphically.
yeah, I
I
don't think it ever. I mean, it did look very good. Whether it was what they were hoping it was going to be, their
Oh, it's
sort of version.
definitely nothing like a Halo killer, if
No,
that's
it's
what you're going to say.
no. That's it's not. It
It's
it
not those
looked the
big
part,
open
but
battlefields, is it? It's tight,
mm,
almost corridor driven, very
yeah,
Killzone's a very different game. Like I've never known an enemy take so many bullets in an FPS as
I
the
did think that when I
Hellgast in
played it
Killzone
recently. Yeah.
2. It's it's unbelievable, and it adds to an almost what I would say fear
Mm,
of the Hellgast in the game. It does work in the game's advantage where when you're getting a tight experience with them, you're nervous. You have to take them seriously because you're just not going to get away with a shotgun blast to the face with a Hellgas. It's just going
mm,
to laugh at you. They're quite intimidating anyway. So in these darkened corridors, those orange eyes, it's a lot.
mm,
It's not a Halo killer, but it certainly is a very competent game in its own right.
mm,
But it
mm,
rows a very different boat. I mean, if you were going to roll out a Halo killer, none of the supposed Halo killers ever did those big open battlefields on PS3, especially. It would take advantage of the hard drive, which I always thought a bit weird. We never quite got. The only time the PS3 kind of got those Roman open vistas that you'd see on 360 would be if you got Oblivion or Skyrim or Fallout or New
mm,
Vegas.
mm.
Halo had a little bit of a weird niche in that regard. They're not massive levels, but they feel big, don't they?
Yeah, and I think that they do mix it up a bit in Halo, and also I think from the very first game they had that massive movie style production of you were in a big sci-fi adventure and
Mm,
story, and even just because of that, if you long as you played that first game, you always had your foot in with Halo and Master Chief and the spin-offs. That pulled you in with that brilliant story, and I just don't think many other FPS story-driven games have done that. And
no, agreed.
so that you always had your sort of base lovers of that game that would always get the next installment. For me, I mean, Saints Row 2, I mean, obviously it shows on here it's released on Windows, but I think Saints Row 2 for me was, I didn't play the first one. Played the second one because I think the first one was a 360 exclusive, I believe.
I played the first one on 360 and it
Yeah.
just felt like everything. I haven't played it since, but even at the time, I remember thinking this just feels like everybody's made out of jelly. Nothing. GTA, hear me out. It's grounded in reality and it's characterized faces. Even today in the modern sort of 3D era, HD 3D era that we're in. But Saints Row, I struggled with it, and I think two that you're talking of now, as a result of that, I think I maybe got it. I just bounced straight off it. I just can't take it seriously.
Mm.
I know a lot of people love it.
Yeah, I mean, like I was saying, I played Saints Row 2 basically because I was waiting for GTA. I think it was GTA 4 I was waiting for at the time.
I think it was, yeah.
Um, and so I wanted to, I was just so into that sort of style of game. I thought my mate played it first and said, "You played this Saints Row?" And I just dismissed it. No, it's a clone, it's a copy. That's not the real thing. But he said, "Just give it a go. That might be a stopgap."
Hmm.
I played it, got in the first few missions, and I actually really enjoyed it. It was almost like a whimsical P take of GTA. It was a bit of a
There's a seed to something good in there. Don't get me
yeah.
wrong, but I don't know.
I I, I think they realised once they done number three, then they span off on this get out of hell, and it all went a bit random and a bit. I know people love them games. I couldn't.
Well, mate, for me, the rot started in two. I do believe two is the first sort of visual sight of
Yes,
the dildo. And
yes.
I'll be honest, what I find so egregious about Saints Row is it kind of tries to pass off all of its stuff as a pastiche. And it's like, no, in the first game, you really tried so hard. Don't
Mm,
make out like it was all a joke that we didn't get because it wasn't. Saints Row
mm,
2 is that. Yeah, great, hilarious. Big purple thing around the face.
mm,
Who's going to argue with that?
mm. Yeah, and then you sort of get to their very last game they've done. They've almost done a full circle and tried to go back to being a bit more, but obviously that
This-
didn't work. But
I think a
yeah, so,
few people got by the time they had gone the full circle with Saints Row, dude, it was pretty outrageous.
yeah.
What it
Yeah,
was.
it'd gone down. Yeah, that was a proper fever dream when you play through them games in order.
Yeah.
But I did enjoy two at the time. And I didn't even realize at the time it had a Windows port. But I noticed one for you here, George. Now I'd be interested to know if you played this or something you'd want to play, and that was MLB Front Office Manager. Now
Now we
I
talked
thought
about
that'd be
that
in your wheelhouse. I thought,
Yeah, but it must be a US thing, and obviously it's quite niche. So I need to do some research on that after the show. It's the first time I've ever seen a game like that. Swerving it back to baseball, though, a game I do own, Major League Baseball 2K9.
hmm
Obviously, when the franchise was split, 2K games, baseball games, are always beloved. I'll be honest with you, I came to them after MLB, so they're the
mm,
second runner to me. And I was already so ingrained in MLB that, it was game over really.
mm,
But we talk of MLB '09, obviously, because it's the year and it's the start of the season. We see MLB, MLB '09, the show coming out on PS3. This is cross-gen for you, baby. PS2 and PSP. So I don't know if I've got a physical copy of it on PS3, but I've definitely got a physical copy of '09, the show for PSP. Um, she's showing her age a bit, bless her, but still can have a relatively competent game of baseball on that. It's the commentary's there, all the bits that you know are there, especially if you played the PS2 version concurrently. But yeah, game's moved on a hell of a lot in many ways, not only in the
mm,
game itself, but the sport, but the actual product of MLB as well. I think it's a shame that football's lost this as well in FIFA not really having a stable mate to keep it honest.
yeah,
And MLB obviously when 2K faded into the background, I think maybe what keeps MLB honest now is the fact it's on everything, so there's nowhere to hide. And although there is no other choice, there's a lot of voices there that could say this is garbage.
mm,
I do see the product being sort of co-opted in ways that I don't like, but it's a game for everybody, so
mm.
whatever. Have you seen on March 6th as well. We've got Tom Clancy's Hawks coming out, which is a game I've always had a little bit of an eye on, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I do believe my brother-in-law really enjoyed it. Is that the fighter plane one?
It is, yeah. I
Yeah,
don't.
he really enjoyed that, I think.
And then I also see a little earlier in the year, in February. Um, is that Valentine's Day? Nice to see 50 Cent Blood in the Sand came out on PS3 360, Dead Rising Chop Till You Drop on the Wii. But the game I'm here for is Tom Clancy's End War on Windows. I think I've got that hidden away on PS3 somewhere. I think
Yeah.
now I think that is a real-time strategy as well.
Oh, really?
I do believe it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, we're only going off Georgie boy memory cells here, so I could be way off track. But yeah, if memory serves, that's what it is. And a game I got at launch on 360, if memory serves. A game I want to talk to you about, RGT, Resident Evil 5. You ever played that?
Yes, I played it through online co-op.
Oh,
Uh,
nice, because
with
that's
Board Border.
obviously
Yeah, we done five
yes.
and six together. We played
Oh,
through online a few years back, 10 years ago now. We played on the PS3 and played them right through. And yes, I know everyone, Resident Evil hardcore fans, oh, they're not proper Resident Evil games, blah, blah, blah. No, I can understand that. I can understand the different route they went. But as a co-op online experience, brilliant fun. I preferred five
hey,
to six, but still very good.
I don't hold a single candle of blame on them for Resident Evil 5 when everybody went so nuts about 4. When the whole world was FPS crazy,
Mm,
they had to experiment with it.
mm,
And everyone was crazy for online as well. Every
mm,
game, even if it wasn't even appropriate, had a multiplayer section bundled in on it as it was dead
yeah.
at launch, right?
Mm,
So Resident Evil 5 tried to embrace the future with its mouth wide open, but sadly, history's not too. One question.
yeah.
Does it have a couch co-op option or not, or is it only online?
I've got a funny
You know what
feeling
I'm
it's
thinking?
only online. I think it's
Damn
only
it.
online.
It's
I
quite a
might
graphically intense game,
I
but then
might be wrong on that. Like I say, I'm going from 10-year-old memory here, but I'm pretty sure I don't think there's split screen on that. I think you have to
hmm,
play online. So you might need
I wasn't offended by it when it came out, and if memory serves, the magazines also reviewed it relatively favorably as well. They were very into the zeitgeist of online. They're very into the zeitgeist of FPSs. Resident Evil 5 came and reviewed okay at the time,
mm,
really. There was a little bit of furore. Probably the internet was a lot quieter then.
mm,
The amount of people that used it was smaller, and the amount of people that could be bothered to log in and say something was infinitesimally
mm.
small, wasn't it?
Yeah,
So it didn't kick off too much. If that game came out today, I think there'd be a lot more noise.
yeah.
Um, but whatever, I quite enjoyed it, and you did as well playing through with Board Border.
Yeah, it's if you play like I say, play co-op together, get your headsets on, it's actually a good bit of fun helping each other out, getting some
Uh,
ammo, getting backed in the corner and fighting your way out.
yeah,
They were good fun games. They didn't overstay their welcome. And at the time, I think they still are now. They're not an expensive game. I think you can even get
no.
them on PS4. Did they do them on PS4 again? I believe.
Yeah, I think you did. Yeah,
Yeah,
you could get
so
5 and 6. You can get 5 and 6 undoctored as they are on the on the Switch.
oh yeah, yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah,
So
true.
there's if you want to play 2 and 3, I wish they'd bring out classic 2 and 3. But if you want to
Mm,
play OG, if you want to play the modern remake of 2 and 3, you've got to do it on the cloud version on there,
mm,
which is not the best. Although this isn't the main show, so I'll shut up. Um,
mm.
Res
I
Resi
also,
5. Yeah, one
yeah,
thing I want to say about that though is at the time, I remember playing it one player admittedly, but I did find some of the moments where you were swamped actually quite scary at the time.
yeah, yeah. No, there was some. Especially, I found it was more. Obviously, five was more. It was that brown sort of PSV free era then, weren't it?
It was.
Whereas six was a bit more darker at night and city and based. It was a bit different look, but I did find six quite creepy at times.
Yeah.
With the spaces you're in and dark controlled places. But yeah, I enjoyed those. I know like I say, it's not for every Resi fan's taste, but as a two-player experience, really good fun. I also noticed on here a couple of Star Ocean games, which I want to talk to you about. Star Ocean Second Evolution on the PlayStation Portable PSP.
Yeah,
Um,
I saw that. I might have that, but I have to admit, I've not played it.
I thought I had that, but I can't find it. I thought I had that game, but I was quite interested. And also, Star Ocean: The Last Hope, which on here came out on Xbox 360 on February the 19th, 2009, and obviously later on then came out the international version, I think it was called, which had a little
Yeah.
bit more. But I don't think there's a lot of difference, but a little bit more on the PS3. I have dabbled recently on Last Hope.
Oh, have
Um,
you? Any good? Is that the PS2 one?
No, it's PS3.
Oh, okay.
It was like I say, it was the 360 game originally. I think it might have been a timed exclusive, and then it came
Hmm.
over
They
to
were paying for a lot of Japanese RPG
mm,
exclusivity to try and
yeah,
push the needle in Japan. It didn't,
yeah,
obviously it didn't work. They had a whole initiative which did bring some games over here, but yeah,
mm,
sadly, it was a good idea.
yeah. I mean, I enjoyed what I played of it, but once I got to the planet, I thought this could be a bit grindy, a bit
So
time
you
consuming.
love
But
that now, but you ran like a scared child from it then.
yeah, so something I would like to play again though. I mean, graphically it looked quite good. Some big maps on there. A lot of it is exploration. There's a lot focused in on exploration, and you have to discover the map by going around and finding it yourself and open that map up. But yeah, I've always been intrigued by the PSP Star Ocean Second Evolution. That always seems quite popular, and I always think that'd be Star Ocean always seems. I don't know why, but them sort of RPG, JRPG, especially that space side of it, always seem right on a PSP. I don't know
Mate,
why, but they seem right on a PSP.
I've, you know, there's something nice about a little JRPG on a portable. Something that you can just slip in your pocket, and the sleep function helps as well. Because if you hit a bit
Mm,
of a brick wall halfway through it, sleep, hold, pocket, done. The PSP. If we're in an era, the PSP was great. A great product for that sort of thing. I've been
mm,
chucking through. I lobbed in Breath of the Wild 3 and Breath of Fire 3 the other day, and started just sort of burning through that on PSP, quite enjoying it. I think that's
mm,
of era. I think it was quite early on in PSP life cycle.
mm,
But yeah, I've just, when you first sent me the script and I looked through there and said, oh, just not really that much on there I can really
mm,
remember. Now we've sat and looked at it, and I've one particular game just sort of triggered almost like a full-on
okay.
regression in me. Now, there was a moment where one of the hottest tickets in gaming, and this is not an exaggeration, this isn't a Georgie moment, we're giving you lenses from our memory through to a time where Xbox Live Arcade was almost a system seller in terms of
Mm,
its very quick to play games, very affordable. There's a lot of indie support there. There was a lot of kind of iOS puzzle games that kind of had a bit of a cross path with Xbox Live Arcade and vice versa. One of the games that sticks out to me that was quite big on there, Peggle.
mm,
There was quite a few PS3 owners that would look over with envious eyes at an
mm,
Xbox 360 owner ripping the living snot out of Peggle or Uno with the chat cam. OG Tom had. Oh, we need to get him on for Confessions of an Uno player during the 360 Xbox Live Arcade era. I tell you what, it was the Omegle of the time. I'll give you that. If that's
mm.
what's that? Is that what that thing's called? Where people go on and they do the random chat things, chat roulette or whatever.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
Omegle probably does bloody mortgages for mobility scooters or something. Uh, but yeah, I get distracted. But there was Heroes of Catan. There was Ticket to Ride. There was Jeff someone or other, a rare sort of space game where you had to pick up Rocket Defender or something like that that would have been a Spectrum game in the past. We got
Oh,
absolutely.
Jet Set Willy.
No, it wasn't that one. It was where you go along as a little rocket guy, you pick up the base of the rocket, you add it, you get something
Oh,
else, and then you blast off. I can't remember what it was called, but I spent hours on that on
oh God,
Xbox
yeah, I
Live
got it on the
Arcade.
Spectrum. Yeah, yeah, brilliant game.
Um, and the redo made it so much easier to play with the 360 controller. Everything about it was just a thing of beauty. That's Xbox Live Arcade was the first host to, oh, what's that game that's got the voice actor from Uncharted in it? Um, and it's a 2D Metroidvania.
Oh, yes, I got that.
We've talked
Shadow
about it recent.
Complex.
Shadow Complex. I think you might have
Yes,
done it as a hidden gem.
yes, yeah,
Absolutely great game. Got its
yeah.
origin on Xbox Live Arcade.
Mm.
When I say Xbox Live Arcade was looked upon with envious eyes by other gamers, it absolutely
Oh
was.
God, yes. Oh
In
God,
this
yes.
era of 360, Microsoft were currying absolutely everything that was brilliant. They had a lot of
Yeah,
goodwill.
Super Meat Boy and games like that. Yeah.
And the PS3's late arrival had prompted a lot of sort of disjointed PS2 owners to book that console and the wait for the PS3 and move across to 360 to give it a go.
Mm.
And straight out the gates, they were rewarded very quickly with Gears of War, Project Gotham Racing. You know, there was a lot going on that early 360
Mm.
that was phenomenal. Launched pretty much with Oblivion as well, which
Yeah.
was PS3 owners jumped up and down, and that became a launch game, the Game of the Year version for the PS3.
Mm.
Those it was almost like, no, we'll wait for our version, and then it ended up being a bit broken as well. So it was, yeah, it was quite a strange time for Sony,
Mm.
and Xbox navigated it well. One thing as well I've noticed on here that I think might be worth a moment of discussion, which would go unnoticed in a long list of games because how we look at it now, but Grand Theft Auto Chinatown Wars. Now, there's a
Hmm.
few Nintendo DS owners that were probably wanting a bigger boy game. Does Chinatown Wars scratch that itch, RGT, do you reckon?
I've played both versions, DS and PSP.
Yes,
Um,
yeah.
which obviously resolution wise, the PSP is the better game. If you go into it thinking you're going to have an open world Vice City over the shoulder third person game, you're going to be very disappointed. If you go in
Yes.
thinking you're going to have a modern take of a real classic GTA top down game, it is quite good. It is pretty good. I mean, it
The mini games alone make it
yeah, when you
quite an
pick car
interesting
locks and
proposition. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, it's very stylized. I love that sort of hand drawn, cell shaded sort of sketchbook. They obviously knew they weren't going to try and go for realism on the systems they were putting it on. So
Yeah.
right, let's do our own sort of frozen cutscene. Really
It,
good.
in gameplay, it's very reminiscent to me, and Precinct's a stretch, but American Fugitive, I think. It's got that it's that angle, it's that
Mm,
look. It's not on the DS, I have to admit, the 3D does look a bit,
mm,
it's not aged well. I think the
no.
PSP, probably equally as gross to look at as well, if I'm honest with you.
I think it's just that slightly better resolution on the PSP. That looks a bit crisper. It still looks that a little bit better. Whereas on the DS, the screen was a little bit. You look back now, it's a bit frosty, a bit pixelated. It's a bit.
Yeah, I get that, mate. But Gone Off Bacon smells like Gone Off Bacon, whether you're viewing it through 4K or whether you're viewing it through
No, very true.
240p.
Yeah, very true.
It's the same. It kind of had that kind of look to it where it kind of felt like the 3D was flexing the models apart a bit. It kind of felt a bit.
Yeah,
It felt a bit stunt race effects, bizarrely.
yeah.
But it was the art style lent itself to it. The mini games were interesting. It certainly probably made a few bigger boy PSP owners go, "Hey, what's that?"
Mm,
Well, it's not Liberty City Stories, is it? But at the same token, they're watching their mate pick a car lock or unscrew a stereo or cut the
mm,
wires and hot wire a car. It's like,
mm.
maybe nah. I don't know how that was handled on the PSP version. I guess it was just reduced to button press mini games. I guess
Yes, I
I
think so.
don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah, I think it
Um,
was. Yeah, obviously DSU stylus, didn't you? A bit on the screen, but
which was its USP, which is what
yeah,
made it
exactly.
cool.
Yeah, yeah.
While we've got teeth in our heads and we're talking handhelds, it's nice to see that March 17th saw Resistance Retribution drop on the PSP.
I've got that, but I haven't played it yet. Because I'm sort of into two at the moment, Resistance 2. So
One of them, it might be Resistance 2. this game is a literal counterpart to it. If you plug a PSP with Resistance Retribution into a PS3 and tell them, and then start Resistance 2 or 3, I think it's 2, on the PS3, it will allow you to use a load of extra functionality on the PSP version. I do believe including using a DualShock 3 to control the gameplay. And then enables you to use the dual sticks,
Mm.
which makes the game infinitely more playable. And I do believe it corrupts your version in a in universe. When I say corrupts, I don't mean that it breaks it, but it
Mm.
corrupts your version of Resistance on the PS3, and then your PS3 version on the your PSP version then gets corrupted, and the name gets changed to something slightly differently from memory. So, to anyone out there that's tried that, or if you're living in 2009 and you get any news via our 2025 podcast, you're doing well for yourself. Let us know
Yeah,
in the Discord. I'm
definitely.
sure it's that game.
I'll look into that and have a look. We'll come back next week and see
Well,
how I go on with that.
it might actually make your journey through Resistance Retribution a little bit more fun because I
Mm.
do believe the alternative way to do the fine aiming is through the face buttons, the icons.
Oof. Yeah.
And to a modern gamer, uh,
Yeah.
that's a tough landing. That is. You
Yeah,
get
that is.
used to it. I've
Yeah.
been playing a lot of PSP lately, and whew, you get used to it. And that nub. I'm not. I know I'm not playing a brand new out the box PSP, but I'm playing one with very little hours on it. And I tell you what, a game of the era, Vice City Stories or Liberty City Stories, just getting your car to drive straight down the road is tantamount to a miracle. You got to drive like you're driving Miss Daisy in that game if you want to preserve your car. I have no care for any of the vehicles I get because I know within probably two corners or one button press, they're done. Smoke,
Yeah.
fire, flames, and I'm
Lego.
dragging someone else out.
Yeah, that's when they said it came with an analog stick. It's not really an analog stick. It is
Oh
literally a
my.
sliding little nub, which is
I've recently the PSP I'm using is a PSP 1000 and I
ooh, old school.
st yeah, stumbled across it's beautiful though. It's a Japanese import, so the buttons are reversed in the menu. I know. Just work with it. Am I going to mod it? No, I'm not. I got also a set of PSP lanyard, wrist
Mm.
thingies. And if you kind of pull that tight and hold it almost like a horn of a joystick, the ergonomic bit that goes into the
Mm.
palm of your hand, you can get onto the nub a bit better. Sounds like
If you're joining now, it's not what you think.
it is
Go back to
nowhere
the beginning.
near what you think it is.
Yeah.
But if you get right on that nub with your thumb in a certain way, it's still not what you think it is. But you get a little bit more kind of finite control. You can make your character walk, not run all the time. You can make your car kind of steer, but you end up holding it in such a way that if you took a picture of me and then used Photoshop to remove the PSP, I, 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 I'll be honest with you, you'd probably think Mum had probably at least a couple of tablets of thalidomide. So yeah, it's not a great look, I'll be honest with you, in terms of like ergonomics, and it gives you serious bit of crampage.
Yeah, well, I had a grip for mine, which is perfect. It turns it into a big controller. The problem is, that sleek little PSP that you'd slide into your pocket is now like a ugly brick with two
And
bits
and
sticking off the
and and
bottom.
and
So
and yeah, to that point, when I was holding it that way, I was like, oh, maybe I could get a grip, and I was like, no, George, you're rocking a mint PSP 1000 in nothing but the original little felt bag it came in. You're absolutely not going to add stupid accessories to this. You've got the guts to run this as it is. Although not that long ago, I went on CX, wondered how much a PSP would be, thinking it might be 20, 30 quid.
no, no, no. Yeah, I've been looking lately and thought, yeah, they've gone up quite a lot.
A, a hell of a lot.
Mm,
They are ridiculous.
they are, yeah, they are.
I mean, I guess I still use it to watch UMDs on. The amount of people that do that now got to be measurable on one hand across the world. One
Mm,
would imagine, right? Unless they've like just downloaded movies onto it. I'm talking discs in the back of it.
mm.
I guess they're moddable. I guess that's what's pushing the price. I don't really know.
Yeah, yeah, maybe. But getting back to the games again,
Yes,
I noticed on here a fantastic game that I put many hour into, and that is Skate 2, which came out in January the 21st, 2009 on
fair
PS3
play.
and
Yeah,
Xbox 360. Now, for those of you who haven't played Skate, Skate tried to change up a bit. You'd had Tony Hawk's. Tony Hawk's was on a bit of a slump then. The games, they were
yeah.
knocking games out left, right, and centre. Nothing was getting traction. I think they'd peaked and they were going off, so they thought, right, EA thought, right, let's change it up a bit. So basically, on this, rather than the button controls for your skate controls, you used your right analog stick. So straight pull straight down and straight up is your ollie, and then once you start moving. Now this sounds tricky, and to start with, I was just like, oh, I can't be doing with this. We just want X ollie, we want triangle grind, blah blah blah. But once you get into it, and that teaches you the movements on that stick, it it was very good, and that did take the skateboard game on to the next level. We'd had Skate 1, Skate 2 is even better. Skate 3 is a fantastic game, of
It
which
is.
people are still playing and still uploading clips to this day. And we've got Skate 4 on the way, which at the moment I don't think is early play testing is going that well at the moment. But anyway, Skate 2, um, Skate
I
1
mean,
had been a bit of a, didn't realize that was going to be as big as it was. Then Skate 2 took it to the next level again, and it was a really addictive, brilliant skate
well,
game.
couple of things to say about Skate, which is EA from memory, is it not?
Yes, yeah.
Now they had a big push at the time for taking all the controls to like an analog place. I think off the back. Now this, correct me if I'm wrong, but this not rot, but this trend started in Tiger Woods kind of '04,
Yeah, I think you're
where
bang on. Yeah, yeah,
where
yeah,
the
yeah.
control all of a sudden it wasn't stopping the movie icon within the box at the top and then catching it at the bottom within a certain little window for the perfect shot or to hook or slice. No, no, no. You were to pull down on the controller and then flick forward in a smooth fashion to execute your shot or hook or slice as you did. You give the player control and agency, a feeling of real involvement in it. I think the next time I took notice of it was in the Fight Night series. Fight Night Round 3, I think, was the first game on 360. Did come to PS3 a bit later on as well.
Mm,
They had moved towards the left stick to control the boxer's rotation from his hips, and then the right stick, I think, was used from memory to launch the punches, either round to the left or round to the right, or jab forward and backwards for your punches and your movements there. Um, it added a little bit of something to it, I think. And I think that next evolution again saw it there. Um, Quite clever, I suppose. And I think that the ability to flick down and up to ollie a board or to control the board in that more infinite way gave it that more realistic feeling of the impressions that your feet were making on the board, which I
mm,
think got it a lot of good favor in terms of teaching people maybe a little bit more about the intricacies of giving it a go themselves, or seasoned players could probably have a bit more respect. You got to remember that Tony Hawk's is a flying gawk show at this point, where you could start on the ground and still have a combo going as you were spinning around on the top of the Eiffel Tower, dude. That's slight exaggeration, but not that much.
no,
And then you could
you're
jump
not
off
far
there
off.
360 and land it, I don't know, on a French baguette.
They were absolutely rinsing the name by this time, and the games were, yeah,
The game, the
Skate came
seed,
about at the right time. It
yeah, the
really did come
seed
about at
of
the right
Tony
time.
Hawk's as it was executed on the PlayStation 1, Dreamcast, whatever it was, N64 even, the seed of that game, especially when you first play it in that warehouse level the area 1,
Mm,
the skateboarder had weight, he had fluidity. His movements were never overly extended beyond a realm of possibility in Tony Hawk's 1 or 2. There was a little bit of silliness in there, but it wasn't ridiculous.
mm.
By the time we'd walked through the PS2 era to the 360 era, as I say, Tony Hawk's was a car wreck. and that's being polite to it.
Mm.
It was still infinitely playable, and the seeds of it were still there. But as I say, by the time you've 360s on Santa's hat on top of the statue at his workshop, whereas this new level that you've unlocked, you got to be asking yourself, like, what's going on here? Skate was back to the streets. It was
Yeah,
dirty. It was grimy. You were finding spots to skate rather than being dropped into a skateboarder's paradise. It'd be nice to stumble across an empty pool and then go in there and feel like Lords of Dogtown or something. It
yeah.
had that real cool vibe to it, did Skate. Tony
And it
Hawk's is obvious.
also, yeah, sorry, it also had that where there'd be your missions and your tasks to hit, and there'd be one which would be like do this move and combo into this move, and you had to get that analog precision on that right stick. And
Yeah,
sometimes it would take you half an hour to get it, and then when that pinged and you'd done it, the sense of completion, and you're just like, yes, got
yeah,
it. And they had that. You want to keep trying, not, oh, this is too tough, ridiculous, because you knew damn well that if you weren't doing it properly, it's because you weren't doing it properly. It wasn't that the game was unfair. It wasn't that was dodgy controls. The controls are very precise. And I remember one, you had to sort of pull down and roll round the side, and I
yeah.
couldn't do it. So I actually watched myself on the controller when I done it, and now that was me. I was way off. I wasn't on the edge. And then when you try it by looking, then you were right round the edge of the rim of the analog stick. Bang, in, done, brilliant.
Oh wow. Is it time
Mm.
for the news?
Well, I will just go one more game before we do the news.
Oh, good God.
Grand Theft Auto 4, Lost and Damned, February 17th on the Xbox 360.
Oh, we scrolled straight past that, did we?
Yeah.
My apologies.
No,
Now,
you're all right. All right. We can do
oh, they got pretty. I
mm,
saw it.
yeah. Um, Now GTA 4 was it's still a big game, but I still think underrated in the GTA series. I think GTA 4 is I've played it recently to
No,
completion.
mate, critically, it's still the highest rated game they've ever made.
It is, but if you speak to gamers,
Yes.
a lot of them are quite controversial about GTA 4. But
Oh,
if
I
you,
love it.
yeah, but if you were bang on with it because you said to me that's probably the best game in the series.
Hmm.
Now everyone's oh no, 4 weren't that good, blah blah. Go back and play it.
Go
Believe
back and
me,
play.
go back and play it
I tell
because
you
it
what,
is absolute quality that game,
stick
or
an
as we would say in
SSD in your
Suffolk, good quality. So
yeah, stick an SSD in your PS3 and go stick GTA 4 in it, dude, and you honestly, it's transformative. And
and obviously with
what a game.
Lost and Damned, and the Ballad of Gay Tony, this was when DLC came on discs.
I know we're
So
saying nice things, but Lost and Damned wasn't that nice.
did you not like Lost and Damned?
It's okay, all right.
It's
It's the only
cleverly made. It's
I
cleverly made.
it's do you know what? Let me
The
tell you now, it's a thing of beauty. The pack riding looks great.
the
Some
color
of that,
palette,
the
because
color palette,
you're in that grimy sort of world, is
but
brilliant.
some of the riding mechanics start to fall apart towards the end of the Lost and the Damned. They don't
Mm.
hold together well enough. They're not strong enough. Some of the biking elements aside, it's a bit weak. Character as well. I don't know. It's good. Standalone products, it's totally fine. Holding it next to GTA 4, I've got a bit of an issue with it. I've always
Wow.
saved Ballad of Gay Tony though for a rainy day,
Yeah,
and
Ballad Gay
I
Tony is a great game. And then if you haven't, I mean, I don't think I can probably spoil it, but the three games cross over. So there is a main mission where you will play from each side in that mission, and you'll cross over to where you were in the other
that
games. Was ingenious at the time,
it was the peak of DLC in my mind.
and
It
it's
wasn't
also
it wasn't overly priced. It
no,
was very well put together, and it
yeah,
was one of those moments where you're like, well, if this is what DLC is, right? And I
yeah,
hate to, I wasn't the canary in the coal mine, to be fair. If this is where DLC is, I'm happy.
yeah,
Sadly, it's not that anymore.
no.
Um,
But there was like also bits where you could be in Ballad of Gay Tony, and if the dates matched up, you would see Nico Bellic doing a mission that you would have been at that time when you played GTA 4 in the city. There's things like that, and you thought they didn't have to put that in. They
no, they
didn't,
didn't.
but they did. That really immersed you. So yeah, I did like. Lost and Damned. I like Ballad Catania even more. I think that was you felt like you were playing a new GTA game, but you knew you're in the world of four. It was very cleverly done. But yeah, brilliant. Loved those games. Loved looking back at them. Seeing ones I wanted to play, ones I didn't play, ones I did play. Yeah, it's good. Good.
Quick shout out to Prinny. Can I be the real hero on PSP? Go check it out, guys. It's a fun, novel kind of platformy concept, but
Mm,
it's not anything like you think it is. It's great
mm.
though. So shout out for that RGT. That was a great selection of games that I didn't think was very good until we got into it, and then
Yeah, once you start looking into it and suddenly realise there's ones you've played or
it's a
ones you
banging
remember
year for
playing.
gaming, isn't it? Really,
Mm.
the first 3 months alone have left you bereft of money,
Yeah, we don't get that nowadays, do we?
not including. Is this not Vin Diesel's The Wheelman experiment on PS3, Windows, and 360 coming out
Yeah,
in March as well?
the wheel man. Yeah, I remember that. Oh dear. Yeah, I did try that. Not for long, but I
Happy
did try it.
days.
Well, that leads us on to something that you'll all be very familiar with, and leaves me to say we've scoured the very darkest region of all the gaming magazines and the interweb to bring you this week's news. First up, this comes from Eurogamer, and this is I've just noticed this is written by Ellie Gibson, and for you, any of you who would know Ellie Gibson, she was on the game show Go 8-Bit. She was one of the not one of the judges. She was like an expert on there, Ellie Gibson. So she's obviously been in the industry a lot of years. And she writes, PS2 life cycle is at an end, says Microsoft. Executor reckons Xbox 360 is the future. And this, yeah, this was written in March 31st, 2009.
Oh, he's got some eyes in him, hasn't he? My
Yeah.
God.
So Ellie goes on to say Microsoft boss man Chris Lewis has shrugged off suggestions anyone will care about the PS2 price cut announced for the US and Europe. This move from Sony at the end of the PS2's life cycle is not unexpected, said Lewis. We believe, however, that the future lies in the growth of current generation consoles and Xbox 360 as the fastest growing games console last year, with sales up over 80%, will continue to drive the market. Then there's some stuff about blockbuster games, connected entertainment. But quite frankly, you could fill in the gaps yourself in the time and it would take us to cut and paste it. As announced earlier today, PS2 will shortly cost USD of 99.99 in the States and 100 euros in Europe. There is no price cut for the UK, though, where it will continue to retail at 99 GBP. Wow.
2009, a PS2 brand new, slim no doubt at that point for 100 quid. It's not a bad way to keep the kids entertained, is it? I
Well, you
see it
think of
from
the library as well. I know they were
exactly
saying time's moved on. Yes, time
DVD
has moved
player
on, but yeah, yeah,
out the
exactly.
box. You can't do that with a 360, can you, Chris?
No, no, and having that, like
Can
you
you,
say, get the
Chris?
little
Eh?
slim one, put it on the kids' portable in the bedroom. They got a DVD player. They got games that they can pick up for
Dude,
just a couple of
I'll
pound.
be honest with you. You're a lapsed gamer from, say, the Mega Drive era or Master System era. You're a bit of a dad. You go in the town. You've got some money for your birthday. You grab a PS2 so you can watch Gladiator in bed. Hey, I'm just thinking like a 2009 guy, right?
Yeah, you're
Get
spot on though. You are spot on.
maybe a bit of Matrix, depends how much that is. Not blowing the money on it. And then you can grab, I don't know, copy of FIFA '09 or something and still feel fat, gorged and happy. Like, look at these graphics, Maureen. Look at this, a PS2,
Yeah,
100 quid. Well,
yeah.
yeah, that looks a bit like him, I suppose.
I just scored from 30 yards, Michael Owen. Come and have a look. Look.
Michael Owen. Was
But
John
yeah,
Barnes still playing in this era, the greatest living footballer of all time?
no,
It's,
no,
it's
not
a loss
2009. I
for
don't think.
it's a loss of football.
Yeah.
It's a loss for the Barnes family. It's a loss for the UK, to be honest. He wants to put the world in motions as John.
Mm. And in his time, he did.
He
Um,
did.
yeah. Um, yeah, I think this was, Xbox were going in aggressive then, weren't they? Do you know what I mean? You don't need that. This is the future of gaming, not that old thing. You don't need it.
I'll be
But that
honest
old
with
thing
you.
sold 140 million
I was
consoles.
about to say, you don't go after the best-selling console of all time. with any sense of decency
Mm.
and tell people that the future's here when your competitor, so you're arguing for your competitor's last product being dead when the current competitor's main product is out.
Mm.
And history will prove they didn't take it seriously. And although PS3 crept past them, very slowly, in the end they did get there.
Yeah. And also, I
And
think, I mean, nowadays, recently Xbox have done the opposite and put a price hike on their consoles. But I mean, Sony don't come out and say, "Oh, don't buy that; it's too expensive. Buy our console." That sort of thing nowadays isn't really. We don't. They don't seem so aggressive
I'll be
nowadays, do
honest,
they?
mate, to give a moment of the time, you got to frame this up at the time, 2009.
Mm.
Xbox had the dander up. They were at the time
Mm.
bulletproof.
Yeah.
Everything they were doing, everything they did,
Mm.
especially in 2009,
Mm.
made sense. The
Yeah.
exclusivity on the um, Grand Theft Auto, I think they had as well, or some exclusivity on the DLC,
Yeah.
or some sort of semi-exclusivity deal going on.
Mm.
The Gears of War moved the needle big time. That game looks incredible, and obviously by then they'd probably had a sequel. Halo Wars was out. They're experimenting with games like Viva Pinata. Kinect was on the horizon, but
Mm.
not yet a reality, which probably killed most people stone dead. There was a Fable. There
Mm.
was a Fable 2. There was a lot going on in the ecosystem, Forza, PGR. There was a lot of good faith, and it was all, I'll be honest with you, Microsoft products of that era were very solid products.
Yeah.
You could put PGR 4 on now on a TV in the corner of the room, and people would think it would look impressive. They'd take a car out for a spin round a lap, and they'd be like, "Wow, that's
Mm.
great. Feels great."
I think,
Um,
yeah, I think the only reason for me, I think why PS3 eventually got a foothold and just slowly overtook them was the system launched better. It launched with HD at start, whereas 360 didn't. It launched with a Blu-ray player. 360 went HD DVD, which was a bolt on, and
well,
although
360 going early, which enabled them to really co-opt the lead they had with the disgruntled sort of current gen owners who were looking for something fancy. PS3 was still some way off. You could go now and get the 360. The 360 OG launched in an era where people didn't even know what HD was.
mm,
The gambit between what connectivity do I have in the back. The Microsoft was capable of doing it. I had mine hooked up to an HD telly, and they had a synergy with Samsung out the get-go to show people how to connect these things up together to get the best out of them. But we were launching into an era where CRTs were probably still the main gaming screen. So
yeah, I think so. I mean, I bought a
didn't have a
PS3 and I had to buy a new TV. I had to buy an HD
well,
flat screen to put it on, so
the
I had to
good
buy both.
news, yeah, well, the good news for Sony is they got to ride in on the horse that the 360 had to literally break to
Mm,
get there.
mm,
360, if you remember, there was all the furore during the 360's launch era of HD ready and HD televisions.
mm,
And the two labels, I mean, this is very 2009. We're getting very deep down the rabbit hole, but let's
mm,
give people a sniff of what the scene was like. You could go buy a telly, and I did have one that was HD ready, which I think was the lower end of compatibility,
mm.
and it didn't work very well with the 360. I then splurged out and got a HD TV that could do, I think, 1080p, but most of the time these consoles would so the 360 did attempt 1080p, but mostly, let's face it, we're a 720p in that era.
Yeah, the odd 900 one, it was, but
It looked
mostly
all,
720.
it looked good enough,
Yeah,
really. And if you get an in-era TV, plasma or what have you, maybe something a little bit more exotic, an LCD or something, and you wire it up to a 360 or a PS3 studio reference screen, it's still that's the best way to play those. I know I have mine hooked up to a big modern screen, and so do you, and it looks great. But some of that sort of graphical, it's a little bit like a CRT, you miss the pixelation, which hides it. On
mm,
some of these games, like Resistance, as an example that you've played through recently, if you'd played that on a darker plasma, or one that was not HDR,
mm.
that maybe used the shadows more on its benefit, because I know a lot of these games end up looking very. Because when you do the slider on a modern telly,
Yeah,
you have to knock it down to get the shadow to come back. If you see what I'm
yeah,
saying,
I
so a
know what you
lot.
mean. I'm lucky because that new TV I've got is the AI TV, so it's obviously been set up and formatted for most consoles, so it recognised straight away that's a PS3, and I go dink, and that change it to the best picture. So it does.
Interesting.
So then, if I take that off and put it just straight through that modern OLED display, whatever, it looks very bright and gaudy. But if you put it through the AI, it almost downplays it back to what it should have looked like, and
I
it
think
does
I
look
think
very
it
good.
also plays back to a different taste of color palette
Mm,
in terms of the overall presentation as well. I think because everything now is 4K, there's nowhere to hide.
mm,
Whereas even we'd gone to HD, and yes, everything bloated, and yes, the staff enlarged at the developers to make up for all the extra detail they're having to do, but there were still lots of places to hide within the shadows, where lesser
mm,
detail is seen, we can ramp it down a little bit. Photo mode hadn't took hold in that era either, not really.
yeah.
So there wasn't the ability for the player to get the camera and zoom right in on
Mm,
Kratos' left thumb, as an example. Oh, he hasn't got a skin tag where he's been biting it in the last scene. That's not very realistic. Oh, Jesus, guys, chill out.
yeah.
I just want to pulverize somebody. So that to see a PS3 or a 360 on an era correct plasma or an LCD or something like that is when it's at its best
Mm.
to
And
me.
I think also I can still remember my mate worked at a TV outlet and entertainment place, and he said we've got a batch of PS3s coming in. We're one of the first in the country. We've got I believe they were the 60 gigs coming in. Do you want me to reserve you one? I can get you one. And I was like, well, I don't know. I like my PS2. I'm still playing PS2. And he went, it's got a Blu-ray player in it. And I was like, yeah, all right. And now I look back
Wow.
and I think they've done the same as what they did with the PS2. Make it an affordable bit of tech as well as a games machine and
Yes.
people, and then got not only an HD games console, they've got a Blu-ray player. Obviously, Xbox went with the HD player, which you had to purchase separately to add on to the 360. But as time went
But
on, obviously
well, a little.
HD died, and
I hate to say this as well, but a little bit like VHS versus Betamax, where Betamax
mm,
was the better product. It actually transpire. I went down the rabbit hole of this the other day.
mm.
Blu-rays are super fragile. In fact,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
your DVDs are going to outlast them. I think Blu-rays are falling apart already. First
yeah.
gen ones for
Mm.
sure. And it's like, wow, hang on a minute, what's going on here? Oh, what's HD DVD? Bulletproof. HD DVD, literally bulletproof.
If you look
Uh,
back, if you
it's
look at,
annoying.
I don't know if anyone watches Linus Tech Tips on YouTube. If you watch one of his videos, he goes through and he puts all the high definition formats together, and to see the same film on screens and see what comes out the best. And it was actually HD video, if anyone remembers those. The last
Mm,
changeover, that you had an HD video recorder and HD VHSs, and that looks a lot better than a Blu-ray, believe it or not. It was,
yeah, I
yeah.
think Techmoan did something similar.
Mm.
Um,
But we digress a bit. I mean,
we do.
yes, this was Microsoft. They were on a crest of a wave at the time. They were basically saying, look, yeah, you could drop the price of PS2. It may be the best selling console there's ever been. But at the moment, do you want that? Or do you want
But
this?
I also want to chuck out there that, and they lost this very quickly, but at the time, the 360 management and sort of influencer sphere, for want of a better word, Major Nielsen, people like that, they were trading off an edgy sort of Sega vibe.
Mm,
Nintendo's, Sega does what Nintendo don't. They never said it
yeah,
explicitly, but it was definitely, they were like, if you're into wrestling, they were with the green branding and everything, they came across very much like a DX kind of up yours in your face with 360 with disruptors, or they were
mm,
actually attached to the world's biggest corporation, but we're the disruptors. We're
yeah.
doing crazy stuff. We're gonna, and they were flipping the script. They had the
They
money
were,
to do
yeah.
it,
Like you
and
say, Xbox Live Arcade, you had the online and people playing Halo and stuff online.
but
They were
in that
jumping in
moment,
early on everything.
yeah, in that moment, they had every right not to go in hard against the PS2. I'd have actually preferred to have seen an historical story where that guy went in hard against the PS3, as in
Mm,
these are the reasons why people should drop the PS3, or if they're sitting on the fence and they're wondering which console to get behind. I'd love to have seen his. These are the reasons.
mm,
I think, initially, I think it would be PS3 struggled with backwards compatibility, but Xbox did a big noise about that, so they'd be talking about current and next gen catalog. They'd be talking about the HD DVD movies, the media remote, that sort of drivel.
Mm,
The chat cam, as we mentioned earlier, that's
mm,
used for slightly salubrious reasons, one would imagine. But
mm.
yeah, they were doing stuff,
Mm.
dude. They were. So yeah,
I
shame
was.
they decided to kick the older sort of wheezy guy in the corner rather than the guy with this the big roided dude at the bar with a PS3 t-shirt. Oh, you kicking my daddy? No.
Yeah, brilliant. What's this next bit of news then, George?
Oh, I've got to speak it, have I? Okay, brilliant.
Yes,
Well,
you
next
have.
bit of news from 2009. I'm not quite sure exactly what article this comes from. It's from gamesindustry.biz,
Mm.
an article by James Lee, published on the 31st of March 2009. There's your explicit window you were looking for. Sony patents PS Cloud, internet video game streaming service, registered within 24 hours of on-live debut. I think there'll be some things here we'll know and some things we might have
Mm.
to look into. But Sony Computer Entertainment may enter into cloud computing, the operation of services from a remote server, according to filing at the US Patent and Trademark Office. The electronic giant's Japanese office filed the patent for PS Cloud on March 24, a day after the GDC debut of OnLive, the online game streaming service. The filing unveils early plans to make the service available to handheld game devices as well as consoles and details PS Cloud as providing entertainment services, namely providing online video game that users may access through the internet. According to Sony's filing, PS Cloud could also offer streaming music as well as electronic books and magazines, if only it
Mm.
did.
Yeah.
Sony's fledgling streaming service, one that I think I might have tried one afternoon by mistake and then came off it because I didn't know if I bought the game or what was going on. I think I dabbled a little bit with the cloud on Vita. I think there was a little moment where it worked on there, if memory serves. I can't fully remember, but
Mm.
one has to wonder. But definitely eyes on the future here, Sony. But yeah, I don't remember it working very well.
No, I mean this is their early sort of dabbles, and they're always behind Microsoft as when it came to online and streaming and bits and pieces. I mean, I can even remember seeing on my PS3 just when the store was on added on and just ignored it for months and then just said to my mate, "What is that PS Store?" He said, "Oh, it's where you buy games." And what? And they deliver them to you? And he's like, "No, you buy them digitally and download them on your console." I was like, "What?" Didn't
Wow.
blew my mind. It went on this store. Now, I mean, I don't even know if you can get on it now. I mean, I went on it a couple of years ago, and my God,
PS3
it's that's
store?
yeah,
Yeah, get on it.
it's slow. It's slow,
They've
but
cut, they've, I'll be honest, just to give you an update on where the PS3 store's at, they've cut a load of content out of it. There's not that
mm,
much on there. What
no,
you
they
can,
they still want to sell me FIFA 14, but
yeah,
no.
but what you can access, now it's been slimmed down. It might be the SSD, I doubt it, but it's very snappy now.
No, really. Last time I
But
was on it, it was
but the
painfully slow. But
but the choice, all the pages are cut down. Obviously, all the wallet stuff takes place outside on your mobile. You top your wallet up to give it
mm,
funds so you can make the transaction. I haven't
yeah,
transacted out the PS3 store in its current iteration, but
mm.
uh, yeah, I've checked out the Vita store in the current iteration with a loaded card, and it was easy.
Oh, brilliant. So, I mean, this PS Cloud, was this all to do with that like PS Home they done, where you'd have your
No,
own?
no, no. I think PS Cloud is their first step in the realms of. I think they even called it PS Cloud. PS Now became is that I believe that's what that
Oh,
is.
so this was the early iteration of streaming games to play.
That was my take on it. Yeah.
So, I mean, I remember I had PS Now for a while on my PS4, and some games would run, but some were, oof, they were. Yeah, that was a tough sell to play that, the latency, and that was terrible. But there you go. I mean, we all have to start somewhere, and you look at how online is now with PS5 and Series X, Series S, and PC. they all had to start somewhere, I suppose, and this was
Well, well
Sony's
done on
sort of early.
finding that bit of news because I just Googled PS Cloud and the first two pages on there were just talking about Portal. So I don't know
Mm.
where you pulled up that old fossil, but it's an
Well, some
interesting
of these took some
insight.
finding. Yeah, I just
It's
thought
an
that's.
interesting insight. And I think
Mm,
that's literally the foundations that they were laying here because it does
mm,
refer to online, the launch of OnLive, the online game streaming service, suggests to me that, you host a game. PS Cloud is, the next iteration of that. It's PS Now. It should become rolled into PS Premium, is it? I'm sure
mm.
someone will message in and correct us if we're way off the mark, but I think we're pretty close.
Yeah.
What's this
Um,
next piece of wonderful looking news, you sexy son of a gun?
well, this comes from Games Radar. Um, this was a bit of an early one, 17th of March. This is Mass Effect 2 scheduled for early 2010, and this is by Henry Gilbert. Now, I think this is quite interesting because Mass Effect has a massive following and people love these games, and I think this is interesting because it's that your tough second album. They've done the first game. Where were they going to go with this second release?
Yes.
Um, and it's quite nice because we're now going to be reading this article, looking through, you know, the eyes of people that hadn't even played this game yet. So I just find it interesting seeing it from before rather than after.
Yeah.
Um, as a special St. Patrick's Day present, EA and BioWare officially announced Mass Effect 2 today with a release plan for early 2010. You know that trailer you saw a couple of weeks ago? Well, that's just a teaser. Now this shirt is official. Here's the said teaser in case you missed it, so you can actually go and check online and still watch this. Although they haven't said it won't be on other possibly Sony platforms.
Oh,
That's interesting. Mass Effect 2 has only been confirmed for 360 and PC. As for the release date, it's a little curious. The first Mass Effect was a big seller and one of 360's three major holiday 2007 releases. God, I didn't realize that was that early. Mass Effect, the
big
original.
game, mate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Along with Bioshock and Halo 3, yet the sequel is planned for post holiday time. If we had to guess, and we do, there are probably two big factors in this choice. One has to do with the game's publisher, EA, having a not so merry holiday season with their big titles like Mirror's Edge and Dead Space not being the hits that they could be in such a crowded season.
That's
Perhaps this
weird, isn't
that
it?
is Dead
Sorry to cut in
Space.
when you're doing
Yeah.
that, but like, oh no, it didn't do what we thought it would do. Mirror's Edge and Dead Space are
Yeah.
now like viewed not only as absolute pillars of games, like critically renowned Mirror's Edge, the first person parkour
Yeah.
game, and then Dead Space, which was
Yeah.
like which is a pinnacle of space horror, some would argue, which
Yeah.
even got a remake.
It's almost like
IGN.
they
Who
had
wrote
set their
this
sights a
article?
bit
Who wrote
high.
this article at IGN?
This was by Henry Gilbert.
Okay, Henry, you'll be remembered fondly, friend.
Yeah.
Thing is, he's not wrong in that moment, and that's the weird thing about these
Yeah.
articles.
EA were disappointed with their sales.
This
It
is
was.
the good thing about
Mm,
Flashback RGT. I love it. We get this is what separates it. You get in the wheat and chaff, but you only get in there via the articles of the moment. And the thing
mm,
is, they report of the moment. History remembers very different things. They always say the victor writes to history. And in a way, that's correct because
mm,
this little factoid totally lost to time.
yeah.
Unbelievable. I love it.
Yeah. It's crazy. He
I'm
goes on to
I'm glad
say,
I got up this morning.
you're always up in the mornings. Perhaps this is EA
Wow.
dev Glenn Schofield's statement about rethinking release dates in action. Um, the other possible reason that comes to mind is that BioWare is pretty damn busy right now, aside from the gargantuan undertaking of creating the Old Republic MMO. They intend to finish and ship Dragon Age Origins this fall.
Yeah.
Even for a big studio like BioWare, shipping Dragon Age and Mass Effect 2 in the same time frame would almost certainly hurt both titles. In spite of all this wild speculation, on our parts, we can't wait to get our hands on it in about a year from now. And if this winter of Street Fighters, GTA Bikers, and Resident Evils has taught us anything, a AAA title at this time of the year is never a bad thing. So obviously a lot of early anticipation for Mass Effect 2. And like we jumped in on there, hearing things like EA being disappointed with Mirror's Edge and Dead Space is is crazy
Thing
to
is, though,
think.
maybe they maybe still are. I mean, critically and as
Yeah, maybe the
gamers,
sales figures weren't what they hoped,
yeah.
the
You, you
massive
you think of the
company.
money that they must have put into Dead Space and the game, the
Yeah.
quality of the game that it is, that they actually, I do remember they were very careful to make sure it was as good as it could be.
Mm,
Um, it's a great game, performed very well, remember very fondly. But maybe it just didn't do anywhere close to what they thought it would do. I mean, if you
mm,
played Dead Space in a dark room and someone said to you, "Is this going to be the next big thing?" You would turn to them and you would say, "Absolutely, with no doubt,
yeah.
absolutely.
Mm,
This is unbelievable. This is game changing."
mm. And maybe, I mean, Dead Space was a new IP. Maybe people
Hey,
weren't sure of it. And maybe when Dead Space 2 came out and people jumped on board, they
I
went
was
back and then bought Dead Space. So then
I
it
was
might have
about
done
to
better
say,
later.
dude, hang on a minute. It got a trilogy. It got a trilogy on multi-format as
Yeah.
well.
So
I
it
do.
might have kicked off later because people then once they saw a second one out, they probably thought, well, this is obviously doing well. What's this all about? And then went and bought one. So
The
might have
weird thing
a
is
late bloomer.
they're saying that at the time that Dead Space 2, not Mirror's Edge surely, but Dead Space 2 was in development.
Mm,
So they've got the boss man saying, "Yeah, it didn't do very well." You're like, "Wow, dude, thanks for that."
yeah. Yeah, crack on though, make
I
sure this
just
one's
want
better.
to I won't mind a moment because in many ways the 360 felt like it was a console built for me. I'd got the original Xbox and late, admittedly, towards the end of the PS2's lifespan, or maybe the middle of it, I kind of went over to grab a bit of Halo and PGR because they were the kind of game. PGR was the spiritual evolution of a game I loved on Dreamcast, Metropolis Street Racer. Still probably one of my favorite games of all time. Come at me, I'll fight you off every single step of the way. PGR was the evolution of that. Not quite as good, in my humble opinion, but still great. Oblivion as well. I'd played a lot of Morrowind on the original Xbox, and that was a game I was big into. And then the 360 came out pretty much within the launch window. You got Oblivion, which was the next, obviously, evolution of the Elder Scrolls games. So to me, that was like, wow. I mean, are people for the first time in the history of my life is still making a console and games for me alone? It felt good, and then obviously here we got the first Mass Effect, which was without a shadow of a doubt a genre-defining moment. An Xbox exclusive as well, and we talked about moments where Xbox controlled the zeitgeist. That was one of them.
Mm,
That game made everybody turn around and look. He made every PS2 gamer probably go to game the next day and try and find something that would give them even similar to a similar experience. And I hope that the mighty PS2 couldn't be shook in such a way as this.
mm,
I mean, we've got Black. Come at me.
mm,
But we're talking Mass Effect. It was the first time I think many of us have been exposed to relationships in gaming, the adult themes, and we're outside of Leisure Suit Larry, dude. I mean, I'm talking where it's treated as a grown-up scenario within the plot. I mean, Mass Effect did. There is a bit of token bonking in there, to use the British term. To be fair,
mm.
I think it's a bit messy now. When I've played it back, it feels a bit clumsy, but at the
Yeah.
time, it did feel actually very beautiful if you
It
played it
was,
right.
yeah, and it was a massive game. I mean, not only was it a space adventure, it was an RPG. It was very in depth for the time, like you say, with relationships and your
Yeah.
paths, your decisions, and how the ending would go depending on what you done in the game. This was ahead of its time
Oh,
massively.
and if you think as well, if you'd been an Xbox user and you'd been sort of deep into the BioWare ecosystem with Knights of the Old Republic 1 and 2, Jade Empire, all using a similar battle mechanic. Mass Effect 1, the original, not the remastered version, none of that, played so much more similar in terms of the way you fought and engaged the enemies
Mm,
as Knights of the Old Republic 1, 2, and Jade Empire style of engagement with the enemies that passed itself off as a cover shooter.
mm,
Now, retrospectively, it got revisited with the Mass Effect 2 styles, and therefore you can play the trilogy through with a concurrent sort of over the shoulder, boulder
Yeah.
holder, sort of roadie cam, Gears of War really influenced style of gameplay. So Mass Effect 1 launched into a clumsy battle mechanic, but one a hell of an RPG that probably lent more towards RPG gamers because the gameplay was more strategic in the first Mass Effect. It was slower and a little bit more
Yeah, and I don't think it
like
was.
that.
It didn't feel too fantasy. It felt like it was the future of the human race. It felt
Oh,
very serious and very, you
it
know, there
it
was
was very
no.
grounded. It felt
Mm,
very the ships and the uniforms all had that sort of United Nations from the Earth participants for sure like an evolution of NASA. The
mm,
Normandy itself, it was very far-fetched, but there were people sat at machines controlling what looked like
yeah,
radar bits and bobs. It felt futuristic, but it still felt
yeah.
human and grounded. The
Because we'd had
Citadel.
like Star Oceans and things like that, but they were very, they're very fanciful. They're very. You've
Yeah,
always got
they
a random creature that's like a talking horse, or
let's face it, I don't want to get controversial here, but basically Mass Effect is basically a Star Trek RPG, for want of a better
Yeah,
word.
no, no,
It's
that's
not
true.
Star Wars. Knights of the Old Republic was exactly that. He said that on the tin. They got the franchise. Mass Effect it's Star Trek. It's more Deep Space Nine, but it's got elements of like the remake Battlestar Galactica. It's got that
Mm,
mature. I'm telling a strong story. Earth's come this far. The human race is doing this. We've got this tech. You're right. It was framed up in a almost like a not a documentary style, but it was realistic.
mm,
The conversations you had on the planet. I went back and I played Mass Effect 1 recently, and there are times where some of the side missions that feed to the main missions do feel very garbage now.
mm,
But at the time, they didn't. They felt
yeah.
like very real. They were very, a very realistic insight to the drama that was unfolding. Don't
Mm,
forget, when I play Mass Effect now as well, it's not the first time I've played it. It's not the first time I've heard Matey go on about the generators. It's not the first time I've heard Matey go on about the water supply or blah, 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 blah.
yeah.
So some of that's been lost to me, but the first time I played it, it was special. Now, Mass Effect 2, I was excited for because obviously there was the teaser trailer was interesting. You had these sort of figures. The guy, I don't quite know what, I can't remember what they call him in the Mass Effect universe, but I'm going to call him the Smoking Man in this instance. There was a lot of sort of cloak and dagger stuff going on. And one thing that must be heralded, really, I know these things did sort of happen in previous generations, but this was one of the first times properly, and I mean properly, where you could carry over your concurrent save and then continue your story in a way in Mass Effect 2.
Mm,
I threw some caveats in there because it's not maybe as simple as it seems, especially if you're trying to do it on PlayStation 3 on the trilogy on there, because Mass Effect never got a vanilla launch on PS3. So the only way you can do it is through if you only want to play it on PS3. Obviously, if you modern machinery, you definitely play the remaster.
mm,
But yeah, the PS3, if you want to play it on there, you've got to play it through in that special box set. And I do believe that's why it's probably quite. I think it's probably took a kicking now because of the remastered trilogy. But there was a time where that was quite pricey.
definitely.
But Mass Effect 2, I don't know what your experience is of it, but there's obviously, without ruining what's what, getting on for a 20-year-old game, believe it or not. There's the element at the beginning of getting the band back together.
Mm,
If you're aware of the game, I'm playing loose broad strokes here because I don't want to ruin it because I know a lot of people probably haven't played it, and I just implore everyone to go and
mm,
play these games. They do feel a bit empty now. One does, but two sort of addresses that element, and I think just builds on the game. You said at the start of this that difficult second album. I agree. They had a lot of distance to cover,
mm,
and as the insight of the time shows, they were juggling a lot of balls. There was as much
mm,
hype for that Dragon Age game, although I bounced off it because I'm probably more primarily a lasers guy than I am a swords and dragons guy. But I still like swords and dragons. Don't get me wrong. But Mass Effect 2. Dragon Age, they had a lot going on.
mm,
They had that MMO, which I didn't realize about, which great insight again.
mm,
RGT, absolutely unbelievable. They weren't big. they probably felt to themselves like big studios at the time, but let me tell you, compared to modern day studios, there's probably barely anyone there really, if you think about it.
Yeah, yeah,
So getting those games out with all the voice acting, the localization, the multiple plot trees that are involved in a BioWare game as well. Because it's all right making a game where you have a choice, but how does that play out at the end when you've made this choice and that choice? And yeah, you played 70% of the game as a good guy, but then at the end you turn into an absolute arsehole and start just killing everybody and raging everybody. How does that play out? Oh,
mm,
well, that makes that not work. And oh, right, okay, so that would seem a bit weird from a plot point of view. Yeah, it'd be very odd. Right, okay, so we've got to rewrite this whole section. Yeah, well, we want to give players choice. Right, okay. And what would happen if he was dating so and so? Well, that would also look a bit weird, wouldn't it? Like, yeah,
yeah,
it would. So hang on a minute. So you got to think about these interweaving narratives. They are pretty simple now when we have the benefit of
mm,
hindsight and
yeah,
you can see the plot points laid out. And if you want to see maybe if you want to see how these dialogue trees go, obviously your best place is to go either grab a guide or go on IGN or GameFAQs or whatever it's called these days and go through it because then you can see the dialogue trees. If you were to write those out, there'd be a lot of choices there,
mm,
RGT. So yeah, if it's amazing the influence these things have. I recently said as I was playing Mass Effect 1 through and I did actually dig a guide out this time because I thought, well, what would happen if I didn't do that? Or what would happen if I did? All right, let's have a look at this. So look and sort of, yeah, actually that's quite interesting because I think Mass Effect 1 and Mass Effect 2 was maybe a bit guilty of this. I don't know if you remember. It didn't really matter what you chose, the voice dialogue. Although the game admitted that you had chosen something different,
mm,
the voice dialogue was kind of the same no matter what you
yeah,
chose,
yeah, yeah, very
right?
true.
So there was a bit of smoke and mirrors going on with the Mass Effect franchise in the terms,
Mm,
but I think the game did recognize that you had physically chosen a different option,
yeah,
but just had one, maybe two lines of dialogue to cover the three or four choice tree you were
yeah,
given.
yeah,
So it was kind of a generic, because sometimes I'll be like, yeah, I want to help them, and be like, well, we'll have to see how it goes, won't we? I was like, no, I, I selected we would help.
yeah, exactly.
I did select we would help. So why did he, what, was that bad Paragon or was
I
that
did
good
notice that
Paragon?
myself, yeah, recently when I had to go on Mass Effect 1 on the remaster, and you just sort of thought it'd give you an answer to select, but a very sort of, he'd come out of a generic response that covered two or three of the answers that
Yeah,
were on there, and you sort of thought,
but
hmm,
almost delivered it an arsehole way just to cover
yeah,
off that, well, if he doesn't say it like this, then it's not going to work for the bad guy. It could
yeah,
just sound like he's having a bad moment as a good guy. Yeah, yeah, just record it as an asshole, get that bit done and move on.
yeah,
Uh, but yeah, mate, I mean, I've spoke quite passionately and probably quite some extreme length about my enjoyment of BioWare up to this era, especially the games that they've been involved in, especially their synergies with the Xbox brand as well. They were almost unofficial official stablemates, which was quite
yeah,
beautiful as well. And that
mm,
was some of these sort of weird alliances that are built off the Xbox One certainly started to make the PlayStation owners a bit nervous.
mm,
Obviously, no one with a PS2 batted an eyelid that I was playing Morrowind, which is basically a low res version of Oblivion on an Xbox, and having like one of the most wonderful experiences I've ever had in an RPG game. I was hyped for Oblivion. I'd say a lot of people probably didn't really know what it was,
mm,
but it was one of those moments where they had the title of Bethesda that felt strong and special, exclusive, really, for want of a better word, off the back of the PC love they'd shown each other, no doubt. This BioWare tie-up and a few of their own things going on with Epic Games, with
mm,
Gears of War and stuff. Again, going back to the Microsoft at the time, they had yet to fumble. Some would say
mm,
they had a couple of fumbles, but they had yet to fumble.
mm,
I really don't think the Red Ring of Death had really. It was an issue, but it wasn't a massive issue at this point as well.
yeah,
So
yeah,
they were looking golden.
yeah, definitely without a doubt. Yeah, that's interesting looking back on these articles and before the games had came out and what people were thinking of them then and as to what we know now. And you know everyone, if you talk to someone now who's been playing games for 20 years and you sort of say, oh, you remember Mass Effect, you're like, yeah, I remember Mass Effect. But you look at these articles and you realize how hyped and people
Yeah.
were for this
But do
game.
you remember Mass
Yeah,
Effect?
exactly,
You remember
exactly.
games. I think sometimes you remember games like, oh yeah, I remember that. But if you were to take yourself back into the moment, the palpable excitement of queuing at midnight, the fevered, pre-internet that you could trust magazine scans for a 1 inch by 1 inch new screenshot that you'd not seen in N64 Warrior or,
Mm,
Kumquat 64 5000 issue 1 or something with a free lollipop on the front of it. There were so many pretenders then wanting a
yeah,
slice of the crown, and you would be picking through them in a newsagent. You might see half an article, you think, well, I'll buy that because I've not seen that written before. Get home and realise it was, but it'd just been written in a slightly nicer way. Like, damn
yeah,
it. Some guy just fleshed it out and used his own imagination to make you more excited, but basically just talked about the same standard features you was as disappointed about a week before. But now you'd had it hyped up by a guy, you kind of think, well, maybe this game isn't going to be complete garbage for a change. Oh, wow. And, you'd scan and you'd look for moments and this palpable excitement. As I say, you pass them off. Oh, yeah, I remember Mass Effect. Yeah, it was great. But when you were playing it for the first time, and again, I think this is the joy of flashback. We want to take you back to those moments
mm,
where you're peeling the cellophane off Mass Effect, for God's sake. This isn't just like oh, I remember that. This is like oh my God, this is, do you know that you're about to take part in history? Do you
mm,
know you're about to put in your console probably one of the greatest games that you may ever play, and
mm,
probably one of the games that's going to go down in the pantheon of the greatest games of all time?
mm.
It's these moments that you don't realize you're involved in, but you're putting your foot in greatness. And I think Flashback just takes you back to that moment, says, no, it wasn't quite like that, though, was it?
No,
EA thought they'd completely shot their bolt because Dead Space and Mirror's Edge were a complete disaster zone. BioWare were nervous to even think about what to do next because Mass Effect had been great and thought Mass Effect 2 was probably going to be an absolute car crash. They'd already signed up to do Dragon Age. What the hell were they doing with that MMO? No one would remember that.
no,
Absolutely. If you're tuning in now, welcome. Sit down, stay around a while because this is great stuff.
brilliant. Yeah. Well, I think that draws a line under the news this week in episode one. I think that was quite eventful. Three different stories, a bit of Mass Effect news, a bit of PS Cloud look before that even became PS Now, and a bit about Xbox absolutely slating the PS2 Slim's price drop. Back
Picking
when
on
that
the old
was,
boy, he's like,
yeah.
look, hang on a minute, what did I ever do for you?
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, brilliant stories and a little picture in time there from 2009. But leads us on to it's what time we now call Stingray's Boot. What's nestled between some counterfeit nappies and a dodgy couple of Battle for Endor is some of the new releases for March and April 2009. So these are probably games that we would have been looking forward to. These are
Wait, what?
games we'd have been thinking, do you know what?
Hang on a, hang on a. Is Flashback PG? What's Flashback?
Well, it depends what you're going to say, son. Depends what you're going to
Hang
say.
on a minute.
I don't know if I trust you.
Hang on a minute.
What?
What the hell do you think you're doing?
What do you mean? What the hell do I think I'm doing?
You come in here.
I'm
You
bringing
invoke.
Stingray.
You invoked him.
Yeah. Someone needs to bring him back. He's back.
He's out the car. What's he looking like? What's he smell like? What's he got? Who's with him? What's going on? What's the car look like? What have you
Well,
seen come up the drive?
well,
Is my medication gone? Are we not doing that skit now? Or is it just Ray, straight Ray?
well. I think. I mean, if you want me to say what I see as a 2009 Ray, right? He's just
Yes, let's
he's
do the era correct Ray. I like it. Yeah.
he's still got the bluebird, right?
Mm.
He's got a cherry bomb on the back, so it's got a bit of a. It's got a very deep burble to it as he comes up. Now,
He's got that from Pit Stop Garage near
yes, he has.
Tesco's next to Cars.
It's
Yeah.
exactly where he got it from. He got it out of the skip because it came off an old Metro, but it's on there. He's welded it on. He's got a mate do a bit of welding on the side. That's on there. It's lowered a bit.
Wow.
It looks like a bit of a low rider, but it's a bluebird. But also, when he gets out, still rocking a mullet because Stingray has a mullet, right? He's got a
Mm.
moustache now, but you can just see the early growth of a goatee. He wants a bit of goatee. He wants a bit of. He's changing his character a bit like Mass Effect 2.
A bit
Which,
stone cold. Steve
yeah,
Austin.
yeah. He's just smashed two cans of cherry cola together and done them both. Then,
Bloody hell, Ray.
yeah, sugar rush.
Do you know?
Then, T-shirt has got
Oh,
knockoff Mass Effect 2. It's a bit on the wonk, the Mass Effect 2, and it's slightly blurry. So he's I don't know where he's got that from, But
Most official t-shirts at the time look like that.
yeah, so it's unofficial official. Um,
Yeah.
Denim, right? He's
Yeah.
in denim. Lower part is denim, and he's just got a batch of these baggy jeans that were about popular in about 1995. He's found some in a warehouse somewhere, so he's got his spliffy jeans, massive baggy ones, and
Oh God.
a pair of sliders.
We'll sit down because I'm about to break the fourth wall. We're going. You want to know how I see Ray in 2009? I'll
Yeah.
be honest with you. He's pulled up. He's wearing some reddish pink cords worn out at the knees, held up by a belt that's, I'll be honest with you, it's about on the edge of the leather. But it's worn as well. It's a dirty black belt. It was
Ooh.
leather at some point in time, but now not. He's got a rugby shirt, but it don't fit him very well, and he's got a bit rotund round his waist. He's been at the ale, he has the real ale down the railway. He ain't been able to stop. Railway's his boozer, by the way. His t-shirt's pulled out, and his sort of belly button's hanging out the bottom, that sort of awkward thing.
Mm.
He's got a load of white stainage on his midriff, just on top of his belly. It's nothing untoward, unfortunately, this time round with Ray. It's just where he docks his ash when he's having his ciggy.
Hmm.
Uh, got a bit bit of a white stain, the old boy. He's wearing a gilet, only because it was free. I think some farmer gave it to him. It's got some animal feed on the front of it. The mullet's long gone, dude. There's barely a lot going on up top. There's like three or four strands
Not a
covering what.
skullet.
Yeah, I don't know. There's three or four. There's a bit going on at the back. You could say.
Bit of a William Shakespeare.
Mm, when you say party up, business up front, party in the back for a mullet, I would say it's a little bit more like absolutely nothing up front and probably a small gathering of about one or two people at the back.
He's trying.
There's something going on there. Slight wind though, and he'd be Duncan Goodyear at best.
Mm.
I don't know what he's got going on his face, but the once sort of youthful visage of Ray in the 80s and 90s, he's gone in 2009. It's sort of an aged grey look where sort of laughter lines have sort of crept in round his face. Um, it's probably one of those moments. Oh, and he's wearing a neckerchief as well, mustard colour. It doesn't match
Goes
anymore.
with, yeah, but it goes with a gilet, doesn't it? Mm.
It kind of is. He's not
But
in.
he don't call it a gilet. He calls it a
It's,
gillet.
yeah, he riles against the French. When pushed in certain corners, he'll call it a body warmer.
Mm.
Um, I'll be honest with you, the
Body warmer.
Bluebirds, the Bluebirds are distant memory, dude, and he's got a very clapped out Subaru Forester.
Oh wow.
Mm.
Well, he is. Yeah,
But when I say
he's
it's
very eccentric.
it's on the bones of its arse, it's done.
Yeah, it's sort of drop
Um,
suspension at the back, so he's sort of dragging the exhaust over the gravel.
Very, very much. He's
Yeah,
worn. It's a bit dodgy in keeping the stuff in the boot these days because he's worn through the spare wheel carrier. Spare wheel went. Spare wheel went pop on the back straight on the mile straight.
yeah,
Thought he'd ran something over, but it just obviously worn through.
yeah. It's got a sad story hearing Ray like that. And if you've
Yeah.
if it's the first time you've listened to one of our shows, Stingray's that guy that in the 80s would come round with a bootload of knockoff stuff, knock on your back door and say, "Oi, do you fancy of having a look in the boot, see if there's anything you want?"
Oh, he was a sex stud as well. He was, yeah.
Oh yeah, he was, yeah,
But
yeah,
you wanted what he was in 2009. I
yeah.
know he's like this godlike figure that normally just as this youthful vigor, but you wanted it as it was.
Mm,
I gave you as it was.
mm,
Sadly, it's not what you want it to be.
mm. Well,
What's in his boot anyway?
well,
Because
so he always brings us the releases from that era every week. I'm just gonna rattle off some names here. I'll
do you want
skip
any
through a few.
ciggies? Do you want any ciggies?
No, I'm okay at the moment. Yeah,
Ray says you got any rolling backy?
he's got some Bambit and Lutler. So yeah, yeah.
Yes, he's got
So
some Lamberts as well if you want
yeah.
them.
Mm.
Oh,
Uh,
he's also because he gets them off the truck drivers when they come across on the
yeah,
channel.
yeah.
He can do you two crates of Bière Dior.
I'll tell you what. Yeah, I'll have those, and I'll tell you what I will have. He's got one of them extra large tins of Cafe Creme. because
He has. He
I
does
love
do
I
that.
love a little puff. We'll go. Let's
It
name.
takes one
Mm,
to know one.
mm.
These games
Um,
we've already read. You
so
got to
let's.
pick. We
It's
haven't the one we had talked about now.
no, no.
Did I play?
These are
Is this?
different. These
Is
are
this?
different.
Oh, are they? Because
Yeah,
it.
these are from the last ones are up to March. This is March and April. What we would probably been looking at the lists to see what we would have want. So you got things like Empire Total War, King of Fighters 98. It's always King of Fighters 98, isn't it? PS2. Sonic and the Black Knight on the Wii. Oof, don't know about that.
Okay, I'm down in April. I feel like this is a safe place for me to hang out.
But you
Oh,
got MLB '09 the show,
yeah.
PS3,
Well, we talked
PS2,
about that.
PSP.
We
Yeah,
talked about that in a documentary style at the top. We're raising it
yeah.
now, and I just want to get someone out of his boot. I'm a,
What else takes your fancy? I mean, oh,
well, I'm down in
Peggle's there.
April.
Look, Peggle's there.
No, I'm down. I'm down in April.
Yeah, I know.
I'm down in April.
You
Come
just
down with
calm
me.
down, fella.
Well,
Calm down.
I'm taking The Godfather Part 2, the game. I'm very,
Mm,
very excited for that. I think that could be
mm.
good. If it wasn't out on 360 already, I'd be taking Braid, which is out on Windows.
Oof, yeah.
April 15th sees the release of Outrun Online Arcade on Xbox Live Arcade. Talked about on the top of the
And
show.
also, sorry to
Absolute
jump in,
beast.
but you look at these lists,
Do it.
you realize how much stuff they did release on Xbox Live Arcade, didn't they? At the time, you keep looking down
Genuinely,
as
they do.
XBLA, XBLA, XBLA. They were,
People didn't like the. I don't quite know when the avatars came. I think they were firmly here by 2009. I do. Um, but the dash, everyone likes the blades. I love the blades.
mm,
Long live the blades. F in the chat for the blades. They were great. But what came after it wasn't so terrible in its first incarnation. And the highlight that it put on game stuff, RGT and I talk about on the main show, the Unofficial Controller podcast, about how we want modern storefronts to be curated
mm.
and stuff pushed to the front more. Because Xbox Live Arcade was still relatively new and online stores were relatively new, this was curated the hell out of, and it looked so fresh and new and sexy, and everything had that. Mwah. It was nice. It was
And
nice.
yeah, it was. And I mean, also noticing how much stuff was being released regularly on PSP. You got Guilty Gear XX Ancient Core Plus. You've got Hammer and Hero. You've got Dragon Ball Evolution. You've got where's the other one I saw
Well,
there somewhere? That,
you could argue it was it in its golden era now? You could argue it was.
yeah,
I mean,
it
Vita
probably
came out in
was.
what, 2013, 2014, something like that? Or was it earlier?
And I mean,
2012 maybe. So
I know
this is prime
people.
PSP wheelhouse.
Yeah, and people always say PSP, it struggled, it wasn't a great success. I mean, there's 88 million consoles sold. It was, all right compared to
Dude,
Game Boy and DS,
left
but
to my own devices, am I going to get an original Game Boy out? Am I going in, and
mm,
I've got all these. Am I going to go get the Game Gear out? No. Am I going to go get out the Game Boy Pocket, DS, 2DS, 3DS, even the Switch? But that I like my Switch, but let's
mm,
just wait there. I'm not getting out the Neo Geo Pocket. I'm not even getting out the Vita anymore. I'm
mm,
getting out the PSP and playing
yeah.
it stock with UMDs in it. I don't know what it is about that ecosystem, but it is sexy. The only thing I wish I could do RGT is get it online. The frustrating thing is it's got this old
Sort of
Wi-Fi technology in it.
sort of
Oh,
win thing. I don't know what it is.
about two or three, maybe a little bit more, maybe about 2 or 3 years ago, there was one little bit of functionality on a router, the older router that I had, that would let you in with the PSP, and it was great.
Mm,
But that's now gone, and some of the functionality on the PSP feels a bit dead for that reason.
mm.
There's a lot of stuff going on in the menu that's just pointless now.
And I
Uh,
still remember buying my first PSP was a PSP 3000 in red,
but
which I
I've
still
got
have.
one like that.
Yeah, I still, and I bought
So
that.
sexy.
I bought it in Cumbria it would have been at the time, I would imagine that wouldn't have been EB, yeah, it would have been Game Station, I would imagine that was at the
Game
time.
Station, yeah.
And they had a bundle with a couple of games. I think I got Motorstorm Arctic Edge and something else, I can't remember.
Mm.
And
I
oh
need you to find out the game.
I got no, I tell you what I got. I didn't get a game. I got Motorstorm Arctic Edge and I got Batman Dark Knight. on UMD with it. It's what I
So
got.
I could go to the cupboard and recreate your launch
Yeah.
experience. What went first? What went in first? MotorStorm or was it
I
the?
wanted to see what the films are like. So in the car on the way back, I was up seeing my in-laws in Cumbria. I popped in Dark Knight on the way back, and I was like, I'm watching a movie. And everyone's going, what? What are you watching a movie on? Oh, my games console, new games console. Yeah, watching Dark Knight. Turned around, show them at play, and they were like, oh my God. I was like, yeah, I watch movies on the go. This is unbelievable. And then put the game in, and I just the rest of that week it honestly blew me away, probably more than what any other console has done because it was sleek, it looked classy,
Again,
it
to
played
insert
console games.
yourself into that moment, and I've been doing a little bit of dry research on the PSP because I thought this might be more in the wheelhouse of the era that we're in, and it kind of is here.
Yeah, that is, yeah.
But the PSP, you've got to take yourself to the moment. You've got to read the articles of the time. You've got to look at the reactions of the time. Like to us now, the PSP, it looks a bit tired. The games, the ones that haven't chose a specific art style as an example, look tired. Like GTA Liberty City Stories looks not that great anymore. I'm not here to say it's not an absolutely unbelievable game that's totally playable, but it doesn't look as outstanding now as it did at the time. Now,
Mm,
if you
mm,
inserted yourself in that moment in the time, it felt like you were holding a miracle.
mm,
Because in that moment, really, to your mind's eye, because we didn't have YouTube in our pockets, well, by now we did, but it wasn't really used for this. There was no visual difference between what you were looking at on that screen and what you were looking at on your PS2 in terms of
mm,
playing GTA 3.
mm,
So this thing was like literally, as you say, you were turning round to show someone a movie on your phone now. You even would see your own grandmother be like, "You're being silly."
mm,
But in 2009, as an example, to turn around and say, "I'm watching Batman on my phone on this thing," and then go, "Oh my God," is a perfectly
mm,
of the time reaction where people's eyes would be on stalks at the technology of it.
mm,
And it's like, oh my God, I can't believe that there's a movie because, everyone else, a movie at best to them was on a VHS. Maybe to the more salubrious older person, it might be on a DVD.
yeah.
But there's nowhere DVD fits in that thing. So
No,
what
and
I'm
also I know
I'm
UMD's
looking at
now.
witchcraft.
Yeah, and even I know UMD's now not the best quality, but at the time it looked really good on a small screen because it didn't have to blow up the resolution so much. And I remember even showing my parents when I got home, and I mean, you know, I wasn't a young guy at the time either, but I remember showing them to say, "No, look, I've got this," and, "Oh, what's that? It's a games console. Oh, is it like a PlayStation? Yeah, plays movies. You are plays movies. Same again. Put Dark Knight in, shoe him that playing." Oh my God. So anyway, went to football with my dad, sees his mate. So like, yeah, boy's got a new console. It's one he puts in his pocket, a little handheld one. Only plays movies on it. No, like, no, yeah, he can watch movies on it. Not on these little discs in little plastic things. Put them in the back. He's watching Batman earlier. Like, really? Yeah. I know, like, God, I can't believe it. And that knock-on effect of everyone thinking, how's this tiny little thing playing
Mm,
movies, playing almost console look games. Yeah,
yes,
it's
yeah.
just in your pocket. Do you know what I mean? It
I
was,
think, mate, let me correct you there. I think at the time of PSP in era, you could argue they were console quality.
yeah, you could. And also, it's that
It
analog
launched
feel.
in the PS2 era
Yeah,
with a game like Liberty City Stories. It
yeah.
had no right on planet Earth
No,
to
that's
look like
something that
that.
small. And it had that analog feel. You put
It
that
did.
UMD in, you
It
close
did.
it like a Betamax, and then you hear it go, "Wah, wah, wah." It's
Well,
actually reading
the
physical
thing is,
media. It was, yeah, brilliant, brilliant. My
it
favorite handheld console.
if you used it fully, you could have two or three CDs worth of music on there, which at the
Yeah,
time would have been a lot because you're taking a
yeah.
Discman. You're not going to take more than two CDs unless you want to walk around with a wallet and you're either a walking theft target or a slight embarrassment of
Mm,
yourself, to be fair. So you've got your PSP tucked in your pocket. One thing I've been sort of messing around with is the orchestration of how it goes in the little pockets and then how it would go in your pocket
mm,
and the way it's designed to go in there with a little cutout where you would put your headphone jack in
mm.
so it's uninterrupted and then goes into your pocket. Obviously, PSP, we don't really use them these days, but PSP launched with some in-ear headphones,
Yeah.
an inline remote control that
Hmm.
then connected to the PSP itself, using a little bit of what I would have got a Sony mini disc of the era that uses exactly the same input.
Mm,
So obviously they've been able to call on the other Sony divisions to get this nailed. So then you can sort of control the tracks from without needing to get this thing out your pocket, which again was something else. So
Mm.
you've got movies, music, there's a comic reader on there if you really want to go down that road. You can look at your photos on there. This is a time as well before people really had I say iPhones, but sort of modern phones. Kind of 2009 probably feels a bit BlackBerryish Pearl to me in that sort of era. Maybe very early iPhone 3G or whatever it was.
Mm.
So, even in 2009, the PSP looks incredible. Have to say, mate, I've got a 1000 and a three couple of, I've got a load of 1000s, but I've got a very nice cherry red, as you described, 3000. And in amongst all the chaos of moving and whatnot that we talked about on the main show, I've been lying in bed and watching the Simpsons movie on that 3000. You try and convince me that's not Blu-ray HD quality because it looks so crisp on that
Yeah,
3000 screen.
yeah, it
Every
does.
single line that you see of animation is crisp. Every detail that you see on there. That 3000 screen with the backlight on it, it just pops.
Mm.
Obviously, I was watching it in bed with the lights out, but it looked so
Mm.
rich with the colors. The Simpsons is a great example because a lot of the movies that are in dark, like I was watching Aliens, and obviously it's a film of the 80s, but Simpsons is very much a movie of that moment as well, of the 2000s.
Mm.
So it was obviously captured at the very highest format it could be captured at, and then moved
Mm.
to the PSP at that very highest capture, probably very much like Dark Knight.
Mm.
Looks so good.
Yeah.
There's a, we went on a PSP loving there, dudes, but I don't think it matters.
Well, I'll read. No, not at all. PSP is superb. Well, I'll read a few more games out that were coming out. We had like Ninja Blade on the Xbox 360, Chronicles of Riddick, Assault on Dark Athena, which was PS3, Windows, and Xbox 360. We had things like Dragon Ball Evolution on the PSP again,
I didn't
Yamaha
see that,
Supercross.
dude. That
Mm.
Chronicles of Riddick Assault on Dark Athena on PS3. I can't vouch for the 360 one, but it came with the original Chronicles of Riddick game included free on disc.
Oh, superb.
Escape from Butcher Bay, it did, yeah.
Yeah.
Which had been remastered from its Xbox original launch.
Yeah. And we had things like Dark Spire on Nintendo DS, Dokapon Journey on the Nintendo DS, Dr. Mario Express on DSiWare. That's when you're downloading games on your DS there. Dynasty
Wow.
Warriors, Gundam 2, PS3, PS2, crossover title and Xbox 360.
Unbelievable.
But yeah, so what you like you say, you even had Braid on Windows there, but go on, pick yourself a mummy, the one that if you were going to be crazy your mum for, what would you want?
Oh, well, when I first came down here, I got a bit giddy about Braid, but that's on Windows. I don't know as I count that necessarily because it doesn't feel like I think it came out earlier on 360 again on Xbox Live Arcade. I got a bit giddy about Godfather Part 2 because I've been playing Godfather 1 on
Mm.
PSP. It's not the open world game. Much to my annoyance, I found out about halfway through it. I was like, "Where's all the bits where I drive around the town?"
Yeah, you don't do
Google,
that on there.
not on PSP. What a waste of. I thought I going through all of this drivel to get to that bit. So Godfather 2 piques my interest. I can't remember quite how that was received critically, but I know the first one kind of did okay. I think 2 got received okay as well from
I
memory.
think so, yeah.
Um, for me personally, it'd be a toss up between because bizarrely, I've also I had a me and Rachel had a PS3 night, and we went through some sort of big games when I put the hard drive in the Slim, and Chronicles of Riddick Assault on Dark Athena went in the console. I think just out of pure novelty factor, and if we're going full flashback on it, I think I'm going to go Godfather Part 2, the game.
Mm,
And if we're sticking to tradition for the Ray, as I look over to him, I think he needs the money. He's drank far too much port, and I think he's got a touch of gout if I'm looking at him as I'm looking at him. So I'm going to take a VHS home with me. No, in fact, he doesn't do those in 2009. He's got like just badly written on like DVDs from Tesco's. So I'm gonna take. Oh, I'm gonna take Phoenix Knights, Ray.
oh,
All right.
classic.
I'll take
Absolutely
I'll take the
classic.
box. How many discs is it? Jesus, Ray. All right, the VCDs. All right, how
Okay.
many is it?
Recorded from the ABC in a high street on a camcorder
12.
per episode.
Whatever, Ray. Put them in the bag.
Yeah.
What is Ray on about?
Uh, um, right. Well, I am going to go with, I think I'm going to go with Ninja Blade on Xbox 360. So I remember always really liking to look at that game, but I wasn't an Xbox 360. I didn't own one at the time, unlike now. And I always
That
thought,
was a
oh, I would,
tentpole title for the brand, that was.
yeah, I always thought, yeah, I really fancy playing that game, but obviously never got the chance to play it. So I reckon I'm going to go with Ninja Blade. And
Mm.
as for my movie pick, there's only going to be one movie I can pick now, isn't there?
What?
It's gonna have to be Dark Knight on UMD.
Of course it does.
Because it is. Because it is. It can't be anything else. You
Oh,
know?
Ray's just handed you what looks like a vinyl record. That's a laser disc, Ray.
Yeah. No, that won't fit in my PSP.
He says it will.
Oh. Oh, okay. Well, I don't quite know how. I might have to just
It's
cut the
Ray.
shape out. Yeah.
It'll work. You
Just
know it
cut the
will.
middle bit out and put it in. That'll be all right. Um, yeah, so
I tell
that's
you my takeaway from today's episode, RGT. Do
yes.
you know what it is?
What's that?
Do you know what? At one point in time, it made sense for Xbox to focus on its exclusives
Mm,
and its USPs.
mm, yeah,
And when they did, look what they did.
they did, yeah. Yeah. And even
They were dangerous,
when I
mate.
first started collecting for the original Xbox, and you go through the games, the amount of exclusives they had on that console, it's just a joy to collect for because you've never, if you hadn't had an original Xbox, you haven't played half that library. It's
Yeah.
just brilliant, and you just think, yeah, things have changed a
Well,
lot.
look at the
Things have
foundations
changed.
that they laid. I had an original Xbox, as I say, towards the middle to end of the PS2 life. I got an Xbox, and I had an X, and I'd played Elder Scrolls and things like that. They set us up for those exclusives that are now like everywhere.
Mm,
These were systems. This was a reason to own a 360 and to book the other consoles so you could play this game.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Things have changed in gaming a lot from then, but I think me personally, 2009, we were at peak for the amount of games being released. I mean, just looking at these lists
Yeah.
now you're waiting 6 months for a game. Here, you could probably pick 20 off that list. You went into Electronics Boutique or Game Station, you had no problems picking a game, no problems
I
at all,
think there's an argument in there to say that we are mourning the loss of the double A developers.
without doubt.
Me and Seb got into this. He was talking about how indies fill in that gap.
Mm,
Triple I's, double I's was his new terminology for it.
mm,
Do you know what? It's absolutely true. What
it
we're
is true.
missing is those double A games that kind of
Mm.
like branched us between the bigger games that are in our wheelhouse.
And we weren't concentrating on 4K and ray tracing and 150 million blockbusters that take 10 years to make. We were concentrating on, yes, they were still that cost millions of pounds. They were still pushing the systems, but they were achievable within the times, constraints. Like we said with BioWare, they were doing Dragon Age, they were doing Mass Effect 2, they were doing that
Mm.
NNO, they were doing all these in one go.
Yeah.
Nowadays, you're doing one game and it's taken you years. For instance, as a recording this, they've even said about Elder Scrolls 6, they've been delayed for God knows how long. That game's been being made for years. So, yes, I know that's sort of jumping out of the 2009 era a bit, but yeah, it's a shame. But I hope everyone has enjoyed this episode, our first episode of Flashback officially. We've done a pilot before, which is there. If you haven't listened to that, that'll be on there. Download that as well and have a listen. If you're interested in chat and all things Flashback, obviously we're under the Unofficial Controller podcast wing. So if you haven't listened to Unofficial Controller podcast, please do. Nearly 300 episodes deep, we are on there. So jump on there, jump on our Discord. We've got a little section for Flashback. Come and say hi, and we have people who are modern gamers, PC gamers, retro gamers, people who only play Mega Drive. We've got a bit of everything on there, collectors a lot. So come and join us. Come and say you've listened to Flashback and that's where you heard of us, and jump in and say hi.
Yeah.
Like I say, I hope you've
Over
enjoyed the
100
episode.
countries now, RGT, and damn near 4,000 cities. So,
Yes, it is. Yeah, it's unbelievable. We love every one of you for listening and downloading and joining the community. And yeah, it's absolutely brilliant. And this is just another extra show to say, you're getting 2 shows a week now, not 1 show a week. So yeah,
Beautiful.
hope you like the format. Hope you enjoyed it.
So
Just
if
to
you got
say,
here via the UCP, welcome. If
mm,
you got to the UCP via flashback, welcome.
exactly. Yeah. So if you're into retro, you're covered. If you're into modern, if you're covered. If you're into indies, you're covered because we do a bit of everything on there. So yeah, it's been really good. Really enjoying it. Just like to say thank you, George, for taking part in this first episode.
My absolute pleasure, dude. It's been
It's
great.
it's been brilliant. Very nostalgia trip. I just want, I'm finishing this now. I want to turn that PSP on, watch Dark Knight, then then get on with Resistance 2 on my PS3 because this era has been absolutely brilliant to chat about and
Oh, it's so
games and
good, mate.
systems.
It's so many good memories that are still kind of like obviously RGT and I are of a certain age,
Mm,
and some of the older consoles are very much kind of obviously you can dig them out now and play them, and you're like, oh, I
mm,
remember this, but the memory of it is it's there, but it's very faded. Whereas 2009, I can step back into that moment, especially when you got those articles up and
mm,
start to take myself back to the excitement of the of what was going on, and it's so good.
mm.
It's that sort
You
of
know,
window into it.
yeah, 360 PS3 are 20 years old now. To me, they're not 20 years old. They're still
No,
a
still,
current console, which I love playing. They both are. They're both brilliant
yes,
in their own right. And both, for me, it was a real pinnacle of gaming at the time, how they were battling for top spot and the exclusives they had, the different ways they went down systems and HD to Blu-ray. It was just a fantastic time. And I hope we've brought a bit of that back to you now and a little bit of
beautiful.
memories for you, everyone listening to this. And yeah, so thank you, George. I've enjoyed that. Um,
Thank you for having. I don't know what I don't know. Thank you.
that's all right. Um,
Thanks for letting me in.
and it just leaves me to say, flashback, the games you loved, the stories you forgot. We'll see you next week, guys. See you later.
See you guys.